Welcome back to another episode of Four Down Territory. My name is Miles. Alongside me, as always, is Sam. Draft week is here, Sam. The best week to record, in my opinion. It's always fun doing mock drafts, but this year I feel a bit underprepared. This is a really tough one to predict, Sam. I still haven't decided on my final mock draft. I'm sure we'll do some last-second changes, but I'm excited.
I mean, we've said many times, it's a very unpredictable year, and I like you, feel underprepared because, I mean, we literally just sat here. We were supposed to start recording about 20, 30 minutes ago, and we sat redoing our mock. I mean, I'd literally finished my mock earlier this evening and was like, boom, done. Don't need to look at it. I'll just talk when it happens. And then I had that one idea of like, what if these guys trade up? And then all of a sudden, everything changes. I have to redo the entire mock.
I hate it.
I've got one in front of me. Yeah, I've got one in front of me, and I'm not changing. I'm sticking to it now because no matter what I do, it could go any way. So, yeah, I'm just going to stick with it now.
Awesome. So we're going to do it the same way as we always do. 2 separate episodes this week. One for my mock draft, one for Sam's. But we do it with a coin toss to see who goes first. Sam, who is making
Usually we get a little Google coin, don't we?
We have a real coin.
Sam brought a right. So
the
Super Bowl logo
also is probably the total money we've made on this podcast. There you go. So.
The Super Bowl logo is heads. The Ravens logo is tails.
Right.
Oh wait, we want to do your heads, I'm tails, or do you want to call it and then you can decide?
No, I'll be heads, you be tails.
Okay, ready? Great flip from the young lad.
Here we go.
It's heads. I can't remember.
Right, I've got to go first.
You're first. Okay,
I feel like I've been first every time as well, but this is good.
No, I was first last year because I remember feeling loads of pressure because then you started questioning me on mine, and I was like, oh my god, his is going to be so different.
Oh, you wait, Sam. You wait. Right.
Awesome. Okay,
let's
I can
pull up.
sit back. Lovely.
You can sit back and relax.
I'll redo my mock.
Prepare.
No, I'm joking.
I'm going to share, if this works, screen. Is it this one? Yes. Share.
Here we go. Lovely.
Right. The 2026 NFL draft is underway. I'm using PFSN because I would like to do some trades. Ignore what value some picks are. But, trades have got to be done. We've got to get them across the line. First overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. No debates.
Nice one.
Nothing. No surprises. No Ty Simpson on the board here. It's Ben Mendoza since December.
Yeah.
So that's an obvious pick to start. Jets at 2. Big debate already as to what player people are picking here. I am going to go with my favorite player in the draft, Arvell Reese, over David Bailey. I didn't realize the Jets actually cancelled their meeting with David Bailey, and I was like, "Oh, interesting." Maybe they were so certain that Arvell Reese was going to be 2, and I fully read into that, and I'm sticking with Arvell Reese at 2. I feel like that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Number 3 with the Cardinals. Now, I feel like this is where I've changed in the last 3 days of what player is picked here the most. It's gone from the consensus of Francis Maui-Noah. That's been where I've stuck at the majority of the time. I love the idea of then going best player available at David Bailey. And then I have fully read into what people have been saying on Twitter, and that is that it's going to be Jeremiah Love. But I've got my mock draft to the left of me here. I have Jeremiah Love going, but I am already having second guesses, and I'm going to go David Bailey as the player picked here. It's just that Cardinals running back room already has so much depth to it. And I just feel like adding another talent to that is going to be a terrible idea. And you're just going to cause frustrations in that locker room. And I don't want that. I want to build on, I need a key defensive piece here. I want someone to, almost sell jerseys. They don't really have that on defense. It's Josh Sweat and nobody else. So I want David Bailey to come in here and go on the other side of him and create a massive threat for the Cardinals. So David Bailey in at 3.
Yeah, it's funny. I watched a really good video today that was talking about things about positional value and whatnot. And the guy was basically saying that teams would be crazy to pick Jeremiah Love top 3. And it was interesting the way he was looking at it because Jeremiah Love, obviously fantastic talent, but 3rd overall feels like a bit of a crazy one. Even with all the reports we're seeing of them being really, quite keen on taking Love there, whether that's smokescreen or not, I don't know. But yeah, it feels like there's a clear top three being Mendoza, Reese, Bailey in whatever order. So you could see if Cardinals are going to stick and pick, then they're going to just pick whoever's left.
Mm-hmm. I'm already like second guessing myself. Like I'm going through it all. I think for Jeremiah Love, it's 3, 4, or 7 for him. I think it's the Cardinals, the Titans, or the Washington Commanders. I feel like they're the best 3 landing spots for him. And I feel like I'm just going to play it safe for my mock draft and take Jeremiah Love with the 4th overall pick here to Tennessee. A team that's desperate for some offensive threats. You could go wide receiver here and give Cam Ward some weapons, but I just feel like establish a run game with him. The offensive line is still very young. I feel like going into a season where you can establish the run game and a guy that can really break through and and has got speed like no tomorrow. Like Jeremiah Love is going to be a serious threat for this offense and just that safety blanket that Cam Ward will need. So Jeremiah Love goes at 4. Number 5, the New York Giants go with the most predictable pick here. Sonny Styles, the athletic freak at linebacker, heads over to New York. Feel like this pick is another one with Mendoza that as soon as that combine happened, it was like, right, he's going to the first place that needs a linebacker. And that to me is New York.
Yeah, I've seen reports that the Titans are interested in him, so that would be the thing that would stop the Giants. And it's one of the things with the Cardinals being a trade down candidate, whether you could see the Giants leapfrogging Tennessee just to make sure they can get Sonny Styles, I don't know. But it feels like Styles to the Giants, especially, I mean, if we go all the way back to Bobby Okereke leaving the Giants, right? That was kind of the moment where we are like, okay, well, they need to replace him. And that's when Sonny Styles seemed to be the pick at that point.
You can even go back to like Alec Ogletree. Like they haven't had linebackers for a long time.
Yeah.
So the Giants are in desperate need of a play caller on defense. For the Cleveland Browns, Sam, obviously Francis Moenoa has fallen for me in regards to the consensus pick. Normally him going to the Cardinals. I just feel like they are in desperate need for wide receiver weapons. And when a player, I've just realized Carnell Tate, I'm using the ESPN one. Carnell Tate's listed at 13 here. He's not the 3rd best wide receiver on the board. He is by far the best wide receiver on the board. I'm taking Carnell Tate with the 6th overall pick to Cleveland. Desperate for a number 1 wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, the experiment hasn't worked out. They need someone else. Give him Carnell Tate.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I love Carnell Tate. I think he, for me, is the safest. I hate to use the word safe when it comes to draft picks, but if you were going to use it in terms of which would be the safest receiver out of those top 3 guys, I feel like it's going to be Tate.
Moves on to the Commanders at 7, Sam. Again, debating many positions here. If you look at where, mock draft professionals have been going, it's edge rusher here. You see a lot of Jeremiah Love falling. Obviously, I think the latest ESPN one had him going here. I feel like I want more weapons on that offense. How long is Terry McLaurin going to be the number 1 receiver? I don't know. I want to see Mekhi Lemon go there and be a threat for Jaden Daniels on offense. I feel like he'd be electrifying in that offense.
And recent news with Terry McLaurin seems to be that they're kind of ready for him to depart, right? Whether it's prematurely or at the end of his contract. You know what's funny as well? You know what really got me? I think Terry McLaurin either now or going into this next season is going to turn 31. Like,
it's crazy.
It doesn't feel like it, does it? I mean, I've been a big Terry McLaurin fan the whole time he's been in the league. It just doesn't feel like he's that old, but he's been around. So he's obviously they're going to need to draft a replacement. So you could see him definitely going receiver with this pick.
It kind of kills me because I feel like the Saints are also in such dire need for wide receiver, because if you look after Chris Olave, you have, I think, Devon Vele is their number 2.
Remember Bob Means coming in last year?
They're in desperate need, but I just don't feel like they're going to take the gamble on Jordan Tyson that early. I feel like, the offensive line is in a stable state. It is obviously listed as low priority here. Safety is probably not the biggest need. Corner, do you take the risk on how Mansell Delane's performed? Obviously, we're going off pro day values, skyrocketing him up. And then the player that I'm going for has had some off the field issues that have now been arisen from 2024. But I just feel like he is the safest pick on this draft at the moment. It's Ruben Bain Jr. out of Miami.
I just want to say with the Saints receivers as well, I remembered Kevin Austin Jr.
Yeah, like
and Mason
desperate for
Tipton, because there was a point last year where I think Mason Tipton and Bub Means each had a really good fantasy game, and then it was suddenly like, quick, go pick them up, and then they never did anything for the rest of the season.
We're
Um,
desperate for help a wide receiver for the Saints.
yeah, Ruben Bain is the kind of like replacing Cameron Jordan, right? You've got
Yeah,
a franchise player that's been the face of that defense for so long now. It feels kind of cliched, but you see it often in the draft where they'll lose their, the face of offense, defense, whatever, and then they go and immediately replace him.
I think him and Cam Young is actually a really good. Cam Young, Chase Young, sorry, is a really good duo as well. So I'd like to see them partnered up on the edge. Kansas City at 9. I would love to be a true Broncos fan and give them and continue scrolling down for a good pick here, but I won't. I'll do it properly. I believe they will go cornerback, and I think Mansell Delane comes off the board here. Athletic freak at cornerback, like we said, has had an amazing pro day, which is skyrocketed his stock. I feel like the Chiefs have completely stripped back that cornerback room. They're going to need a young guy to come in there, and probably one of the best DCs to learn off. So Mansell Delane goes to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I love it. This is match made in heaven.
Yeah. It's kind of tough where to go next in regards to the Giants here. I feel like I love the idea of pairing up the Ohio State guys and Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs.
Yeah.
I'm fully reading into the news here. I'm taking any bit of info that I can get to try and get some points in my mock draft. I'm taking Jordan Tyson at 10. I want a big jump ball receiver, Jordan Tyson, and from some of his warm up stuff that he was doing for his pro day, he looked electric with some of those jump balls. I feel like you've got Malik Neighbors coming off an injury. You want some pressure to be taken off of him. They haven't had a big-bodied receiver for so long. I feel like the Giants are in desperate need of that, so give them Jordan Tyson.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, you look at the Giants' depth chart and you think, okay, yeah, so they need to add someone to pair with Malik Neighbors. But yeah, it kind of depends on when Malik Neighbors returns. Obviously, the ACL tear was probably early enough in the season that he could be back for week 1. But you never know in terms of complications in returning and whatnot, whether they want to, play it safe and give him a few extra weeks. So you're looking at a receiver core of Darius Slayton, Darnell Mooney, Calvin Austin. So yeah, definitely would be happy to add another player to that room.
Absolutely. The Miami Dolphins are a tough one because, like it says up here, they have 5 needs. I think they have about 22 needs, to be honest. And I think I feel like the Miami Dolphins are building a team from scratch, and I feel like they need to therefore go with what player they want on the team for the longest. And in my eyes, that is a dominant tackle. So I'm going to take Francis Marinoa with the 11th overall pick. The offensive line is already shot to bits. We're in complete rebuild mode. The good thing is they have 2 first overall picks, and they have enough capital to move up from 30 to go and get a better player. I like the idea of going safe at 11 as opposed to going and grab like a safety or something like that. I just feel like the value of Caleb Downs here for this team it feels like Minkah Fitzpatrick years ago. Like they didn't need Minkah Fitzpatrick at that time. They needed to invest in other positions. And I just feel like this time they will go offensive tackle and play the safe route.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about rebuilding the Dolphins because it started with the front office, didn't it? And the head coaching change, obviously. So this is a fresh start for them. They obviously have the 11th pick, and then, like you said, later in the first round as well. So can really start the foundations, and you do that with the offensive line.
For the Cowboys, I want a superstar on defense. Many people will draft cornerback here. That's their number 1 need. But I just love the idea of Caleb Downs going there. Superstar in Dallas makes so much sense. Probably Bar Arvell Reese, in my opinion, the best defensive player, like just can do absolutely everything at safety, reliable. I want Caleb Downs in this defense. I think it suits him very well. I feel like it's a good fit.
It's an interesting one with Caleb Downs because you see a big range on where he's being picked. Some people attempted to take him with the Giants pick, the 5th overall pick, going all the way that high. And the thing with Caleb Downs, and I think I've said it before, is you're not necessarily getting an X factor of a defender, but what you are getting someone that is ready to transition to the pros and is going to do everything consistently at a good level. So you have no doubt that he'll be able to turn. He has a chance to turn into an X factor in terms of like instant impact. Maybe that won't come along straight away, but the guy's ready to play. And I think, especially like you say, the Cowboys need help in the secondary. They'd be loving it if they saw Caleb Downs still on the board.
The Rams at 13 is a tough one because I feel like many people would want wide receiver to fall here. I've had the top three guys go a lot earlier than expected. I feel like if you look at most mock drafts, it's normally Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon falling here. So it kind of puts me in a predicament. And I feel like in Matthew Stafford's final season, but it's probably going to be his final season, he could play for one more after that. He would want a fellow Georgia boy to come along and play on that offensive line, protect him with, the biggest body that there is in this draft. Give me Marone Freeling to protect Matthew Stafford for, what could potentially be his final season. I feel like that's a really nice fit there.
Yeah, he's a bit of a project, but you don't have to worry too much because you do have two good starting tackles in LA already. So Freeling doesn't need to be thrust into the lineup. He can grow into it if he needs to. But yeah, you could definitely see him taking over a role, through preseason and training camp.
14, Sam, your Baltimore Ravens on the board. I am going to be really boring and go with the consensus here. Give me Vega Iona. I just feel like I love the idea of defensive tackle here, but the recent news of Thingy, what's his
Dexter
name?
Lawrence, yeah. It's changed a lot.
Not
No?
Dexter Lawrence. Who am I thinking of?
Oh, Nnamdi Madubuike?
Yes, Nnamdi Madubuike coming back from injury. Sounds like it's all good.
Put a smile on my face, Miles.
I bet it did.
I hope he can stay healthy.
I love the idea of Peter Woods here. See, Peter Woods here is listed at the 27th best player. I think he's way higher than that.
Yeah.
I have him at I'd say he's more important than Caden Proctor on this list. Like, that's how much I value him, and I feel like he's a really good fit alongside of Nnamdi Madubuike. But let's just go with the good old reliable Vega Iona to be the pick here.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned Dexter Lawrence is obviously the idea that you've just seen a divisional rival add into the interior defensive line. Now you're like, okay, how can we combat
It makes
that?
a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to
do
do that. I'm going to throw the first trade in, Sam.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm going off my mock draft, and I've realised that I've done an interdivision trade. But the reason I've done that is because the team trading have a lot of picks, and that is the Carolina Panthers. So the Carolina Panthers are going to be moving up from 19 to 15. Ignore what I'm giving them. They're not giving up a first to move up.
This is the thing, right? We can spend ages going over, well, if we give them a third here, then we give them back a fifth here. We're not trying to make this episode 2 hours long. Just they'll work out the picks.
Annoyingly, it still says the Tampa Bay needs here, but they are in desperate need of offensive tackle and something to protect Bryce Young. I do like the idea of Kenyon Sadiq going to the Panthers. I just feel like it's still a bit rich at 15. It's probably still a bit rich at 19 as well. But I am going to take Spencer Fano here to be the protector of Bryce Young.
Yeah, I've talked about Spencer Fano. He's awesome, playing anywhere across the line. And
three offensive linemen going back to back to back as well.
And we'll see that, I think. We will definitely see a run on offensive linemen. I mean, I feel like every mock I've done, I've got to about this range, maybe into the 20s, where I'm just seeing tackle. And it's like, teams are going to be going for them, definitely. We'll probably see a run, or we'll see teams that are waiting to pick one. I don't know. There's going to be so many offensive linemen going in this first round.
The Jets of 16 is a really difficult one. I feel like, again, wide receiver is so big, but they just come off the board way too quickly for this scenario. I feel like it's still too early for like an Omar Cooper. I don't think Denzel Boston's better than Omar Cooper. You see Casey Conception there. I don't feel like he's the right fit for this offense. I really like the idea of taking a gamble with your second overall pick, and I'm taking a gamble on the health of Gerard McCoy. I feel like in this defense, they're going to need some help at corner. Obviously, they moved on from Sauce Gardner, and that's such a big thing for this team that they now need an identity at cornerback, and Gerard McCoy can come in and do that if healthy.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Aaron Glenn, a defensive coordinator turned head coach, into coming across to the New York Jets. You want to build a defense, and in your very first season, you're bottom of the league in sacks, you're bottom of the league in interceptions because you didn't get one all year. So Arvell Reese with your first pick to give you some pass rush, and Jamod McCoy with your second pick to give you help in the secondary, and a turnover player, proper ball hawk. Yeah, I think it will set up the defense nicely.
As long as he can stay healthy, that's all that matters. For the Detroit Lions here, I feel like it's another safe pick here. I want a big, powerful guy to protect Jared Goff. Give me Caden Proctor to come in here. Biggest concern about him is obviously flexibility. How he's able to, guard one of the faster rushers off the edge. I just feel like you're in desperate need for tackle here. Do you, go further down and go get Caleb Lomu? I just feel like Caden Proctor might be slightly the better tackle, and they'll invest in that.
Yeah, was it Taylor Decker that retired or
Yes,
left
Taylor
the
Decker
Lions?
retired. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their current left tackle. It's a guy called Larry Borum. So
Says
I
enough.
would be shocked if the Lions don't pick tackle here.
Absolutely. Minnesota at 18 could be my favorite player in the first round coming off the board. So it is Dylan Thieneman.
Love it.
Safety out of Oregon to the Minnesota Vikings. Is it still up in the air of if trying to think Harrison Smith stays? I don't know what the decision is. I feel like Dylan Thieneman could be a great one to learn off if he does stay. If he doesn't, he's a great one just to replace.
I can't remember where they left it at the end of the regular season, but it felt like it was a farewell, but obviously you never know. It feels like some players like to take their time making these decisions. Obviously there's a lot to consider. So for Harrison Smith, a long career, like you say, you're either bringing someone he can mentor, or you're bringing in the new Harrison Smith.
Tampa at 19. I'm looking at my mock draft and I already want to change it. I'm really debating bringing in a different position here, but I'm not. I'm going to stick with what I've got beside me just so I play it safe. Give me Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. Back-to-back Oregon players. And again, an electrifying offensive weapon for Baker Mayfield. Obviously lost Mike Evans this offseason. We don't know what's happening with Chris Godwin. Oh, do we know what's happening with Chris Godwin?
I think he's still about.
He's still about, but they could
do
with another offensive weapon. Give me Kenyon Sadiq there.
Well, this is the thing, right? Last season, let's not forget how many injuries they had on the offense, where they were like having so much depth come through to give them targets. I think you add Kenyon Sadiq, maybe it feels like there's too many weapons in that offense, but you can never have too many weapons. The depth will always provide, and yeah, Kenyon Sadiq is a nice pick for the Bucs.
That brings me on to the Cowboys at 20. I want to go edge rusher here. There's two players on the board. It's Messidor and Folk. I want the player that I think has the best bend and power combo out of both players. It's actually Kendrick Folk here, who I think is the better, despite obviously ESPN having Messidor slightly higher.
Yeah, Folk is a bit of a prototype, isn't he? But that's the idea. You see the ceiling that he could have, and you think we can develop him into a complete stud of a pass rusher. Absolutely. And also run defender. Let's not forget how good he can be with that as well.
Yeah, true that. I feel like the Steelers have so much draft capital that it's a crime for them not to trade up this year. It just feels like the trade up might happen in like the second round as opposed to being the first round. I was really trying to make something work, moving them up to like 11, 12, 13, but the team, like, I just don't feel like they're going to trade up for another tackle. I don't feel like they're going to trade up for a safety. So I feel like they're going to stick and pick here and go with the identity of the old Steelers defense, and that is just hard hitting football. Give me Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety out of Toledo. What a box safety he is, just flying down, mate. He's so good to watch. Mate, like explosiveness 8.2 they gave him here. I think that should be higher. He's so good to watch.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy about it to see him go to a divisional rival. He's obviously great fun to watch, and would definitely help that secondary. You can see safety being a bit of a need for them, so they wouldn't mind it.
Chargers at 22, another Broncos rivalry. Do I want to stitch them up, or do I actually want to give them a good player? I unfortunately want to give them one of the best defensive tackles in the draft, and that is Peter Woods out of Clemson. I feel like it's him and Caleb Banks who are my two favorite defensive tackles here. A bit of a smaller guy compared to Caleb Banks, but productivity speaks for itself. A guy that was predicted to be the third overall pick only a year ago has fallen to 22, but there's serious value at 22.
Yeah, 100%. And he feels like Peter Woods feels like the kind of guy where we don't really know where he's going to go. He could go really early, could go sort of later into the 20s. So anywhere in this region seems like a fair place for him to go.
Eagles at 23. Really tough of where to go here. There was so much talk of wide receiver being a need at the start of the offseason. Then they go and trade for Dontavion Wicks. That throws that out the window, in my opinion. You could go offensive tackle here. Looking at how it's lining up, I don't think Caleb Lomu's gonna even challenge their two starters to gain snaps. So that kind of leads edge rusher, and that's where I have Akeem Mesidor going. You want to talk about motor? This guy he's a workhorse at edge rusher for Miami. It's hard to stand out when Ruben Bain's on the other side, but he does a great job of doing that, and I think he'll shine in this defense.
I love Akeem Mesidor. I think he's one of those players where if you're going to lead with what don't we like about him? Well, he's old. If that's all you've got, then I don't care. That means he's got experience. That means he's ready to go and transition into the NFL. He's the type of guy that could be a surprise candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. I know I'm saying that very, very early, but he's the sort of guy that will just come out the gates hot and have that productivity that he had in college.
Cleveland Browns up next with their second first-round pick of this year. I have gone with offensive tackle out of Utah, Caleb Lomu. This year's Will Campbell, Mr. Slightly Shorter Arms, as what people are calling it. It really won't cause any factors there. They need to protect whoever's playing quarterback. Give me Caleb Lomu to the Browns.
Yeah, O-line's got to be done for the Browns. Even it feels like they tried to address it in free agency, but I'm not impressed by what they've done. I feel like they haven't done enough to address it. So,
it needs serious investment.
Yeah, they've got to bring people
even so. Bears up next. A lot of people have defensive tackle here, and it's Caden McDonald that people are going for. I don't like that. I want someone that's going to plug up every hole possible. Probably the best run defending defensive tackle in the draft. Give me Caleb Banks. He is brute force to move. He's well over 330 pounds. He's going to be huge on that defensive line. And the Bears haven't been able to stop the run for so many years. They need someone to finally help them out there.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, I know you're a Florida boy, but I agree with what you say about him. He's someone that is just going to stop you from running up the middle.
They're desperate for that. They're absolutely desperate for that. The Buffalo Bills at 26. Edge rusher, wide receiver, safety is what's coming up on the list. I'm looking here and I'm just thinking the value doesn't really align with what I want to do. I'm looking at my mock draft. I actually went wide receiver here. I'm thinking, do I stick with it or do I not? I'm going to stick with it. I gave them Omar Cooper. I just don't know if Omar Cooper actually sneaks into the first round. I'm kind of like second guessing myself. I could say the same with Caleb Banks, but I've fallen in love watching him. But for Omar Cooper, I just don't know if he's done enough to get into the first round. I'm going for points here on my mock draft as opposed to what I would do if I was the GM. Give me Omar Cooper for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, even with the DJ Moore trade, you can definitely see them still going wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. 49ers up next. How long has Trent Williams got playing the left tackle position for this team? I don't know. I want someone that can at least learn off him and keep Brock Purdy upright in the future if I can find the player that I selected here, because ESPN have the weirdest list known to mankind. I want Blake Miller, but I don't know where he is.
You just gone past him. He's all the way down. I've just noticed that we're using the same website, but your list is different to mine.
So I selected ESPN's one. I've been using ESPN's big boy. I wish you could import your own one. It'd be so much easier. Yeah. But yeah, Blake Miller out of Clemson here. If you look at offensive tackles here, Maxi Iheanacho is the closest to that. I feel like he could easily sneak into the first round towards the end here. But I'm not going to do that. I think Blake Miller's slightly better. So give me Blake Miller to the 49ers. That brings me on to the Texans at 28, Sam. So many different directions you could go here. I feel like it's a great position for them to trade out of because of the needs don't align with what's available on the board. I don't feel like they actually need to, though, because they've got loads of picks. So I'm actually going to go with one of the players that I just feel like can control a defense the best, and that's C.J. Allen out of Georgia. I want someone to be the helm. I think that's who. What's his name? Who's the head coach?
D'Amico Ryans.
Ryans. He can envision himself in
it's a good point.
As a player, and that's where C.J. Allen's going to be like he's going to mimic his play style the best. So give me C.J. Allen.
I looked at C.J. Allen with the Texans, and obviously they've currently got Al Shire and the trying to remember the other linebacker that they had just come in. It's not even because it's who Henry
I'm
Toro. That's it, of
Yeah,
course.
that's it.
And then obviously they brought in EJ Speed, who I know you're not a big fan of.
It's just
But the point being that it feels like CJ Allen, he seems like this kind of guy that you want to draft because you want him day one to take over and be the leader from day one. So it doesn't feel like he'd do that going to the Texans. But then you could say, with where they are contract wise with Alshire and Toa, it's kind of like maybe rookie season, you don't see too much from him. And then once he assumes that starting role, bang, defensive
yeah.
captain, leader, lead the team in tackles, gets everyone set. CJ Allen's going to be a really interesting player to watch. I think you can't just watch his rookie year. It's going to depend on how involved he gets with whichever team takes him straight away. And then from there on, just seeing how he can develop into a full-time starter.
The Chiefs at 29, Sam. I'm going back to my previous mock draft, and I had Casey Conception here, but I'm just thinking they've got so many receivers like that. Like they've
Yeah.
got the fast, speedy guy, and I just don't feel like adding another one to that. And you look at like their past draft picks; those fast, speedy ones just haven't worked in regards to that. I don't feel like Denzel Boston's going to be a first round pick. So I'm going to pick someone that I fell in love with at the Senior Bowl, and that is Zion Young sneaks into the first round. He has to go in the first round. I don't care what anyone says. He has to.
Yeah, you've talked about him enough that if he didn't go in the first round in your final mock,
I'd be screwed.
there'd be a travesty there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just love the pick. I think Zion Young's awesome from what he was able to do at the Senior Bowl. It'd be amazing to see him in there. Miami at 30. Looking at what we did earlier, Francis Marinoa, like I said, they're in full rebuild mode. Where are people rebuilding their defenses from? It's actually not the trenches, it's the secondary. Avion Terrell is the number one corner here, but I actually think they're going to get Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee. I feel like obviously a lot of people are talking about Gerard McCoy here. They're forgetting about Colton Hood. He sneaks into the first round of 30.
Yeah, obviously Colton Hood, who took over for McCoy when McCoy went down injured. And I think Colton Hood actually spent a fair bit of his college career. I think, where was he? Was it Auburn he transferred from?
Yep.
Where he was sharing, it felt like he was sharing secondaries with top prospects, and then moves to Tennessee, and he's having to do it again, but then he gets thrust into that starting lineup. And then obviously does himself a great job. He can definitely get himself inside the first round.
I've gone away from my mock draft here. Ever so slightly, Sam.
Nice.
I am putting a trade in.
Oh, here we go.
And it's not something that I want to do because I don't think he's a first round pick. But he sneaks in my eyes in this. The Arizona Cardinals are trading up from 34 to 31. And let me scroll down a lot because he shouldn't be anywhere high. Ty Simpson sneaks into the first round. Doesn't deserve it one bit, but he goes in the first round to the Arizona Cardinals. It could be them or the Jets that trade up. I do think one of them does it. They've got a plethora of picks. They've got the ammo. Just go and get the quarterback that will, fill the gap for 1 year, fill the gap for 4 years. It doesn't matter. I don't think he'll be there too long, but it just feels so predictable. It's like Kenny Pickett. It's like he shouldn't have been a first round pick, but he is. So
it's just QB tax, isn't it? And it's interesting that you come up with Kenny Pickett because that's the guy I was thinking of. Where it felt like Kenny Pickett, everyone was like, well, no one else would pick him first round, but the Steelers were that set. I guess obviously they had the college link as well, but yeah, with Ty Simpson, you're looking at him and you're thinking, I feel like he's banker for a first rounder, regardless of whether we see him as a first round pick. It's just that 5th-year option, someone trading in to get him.
And then somehow it all falls into the lap for Seattle. Avion Terrell is left there for cornerback. He goes with the last pick of the draft. That is my 2026 mock draft, Sam. I'm sure people will be talking about it and ripping it to shreds before Thursday night comes along. And I'm sure yours will be entirely different in next episode as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, I've gone through a lot of different people's mock drafts, and you're seeing wildly different grades on certain players. Where there are guys that we haven't even talked about as first rounders that are going in like the teens and things like that. And I'm seeing names pop up as potential first rounders that I've literally seen nothing about. So, it's one of those ones where we'll find out on draft night. It always happens. Someone random's going to go somewhere and it will shake the whole board up.
I think the big thing is, I don't know if they've released the invitees to the draft yet, but that also
I think they might have done.
That also tells who might sneak into the first round. I haven't seen anything yet, and
I feel like
wish I saw something beforehand.
Well,
Um,
because like Mendoza said that he's not going to go.
mhm. But he's a family guy.
But
Like, you can
yeah,
see that.
I feel like we did get it. Oh, that's 2025. Maybe not then. Maybe we haven't had it
Yeah.
yet.
I haven't seen anything, but if there is, that could easily sway some decisions before Thursday. Right, Sam, let's wrap up this episode and we will line up for your draft next. Make sure you're following us on all of our socials, FDT_podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.